The Senate has voted to acquit Donald Trump. Now, this is something that we expected because it has been a very bipartisan process. However, there was one surprising component of this. Republicans and Democrats had appeared to be marching toward an early party line vote, but Senator Mitt Romney, the party's presidential candidate 8 years ago, became the only GOP lawmaker to join Democrats in voting to convict Donald Trump on one count for what he called, quote, an appalling abuse of public trust. Let's hear what he had to say.
The grave question the Constitution tasks senators to answer is whether the president committed an act so extreme and egregious that it rises to the level of a high crime and misdemeanor. Yes, he did. The president asked a foreign government to investigate his political rival. The president withheld vital military funds from that government to press it to do so. The president delayed funds for an American ally at war with Russian invaders. The president's purpose was personal and political. Accordingly, the president is guilty of an appalling abuse of public trust. What he did was not perfect. No, it was a flagrant assault on our electoral rights, our national security, and our fundamental values. Corrupting an election to keep oneself in office is perhaps the most abusive and destructive violation of one's oath of office that I can imagine.
He is the only Republican who voted to convict Donald Trump on one of the articles of impeachment, and that's abuse of power. He voted to acquit Trump on the corruption, obstruction of Congress charge.
Arguably kind of the more obvious charge. Like of all the stances, I think saying that he abused his power was the more valiant and the more whatever, more of a moral stance than the other one, which was super clear. So I was like, if you're gonna vote, first of all, Romney, buddy, it's a safe vote. Like this is absolutely, you know that none of your other colleagues are gonna vote to like not acquit. They're gonna acquit this guy. So you have all the leeway you want. And you still only go in on one article, and like again, kind of arguably, if you're coming from the right, like the least obvious article, whereas like literally defying subpoenas and withholding documents is way more proven than arguably a more broad like abuse of power.
Right, like it's sad because Romney got what I can only assume he wanted, which was free airtime on C-SPAN. I guess I can all love for that too.
Want that.
We all really cherish that, but like
that actually does sound pretty cool. But
at least on C-SPAN, no one's gonna angrily tweet at you because no one's watching. But the issue is like you said, with obstruction of justice, that was the most obvious thing with the Ukraine stuff. That was the most obvious thing in the whole Russia thing. Like, whereas all these other things are minutia, and this agent talked to this person in Russia and all this stuff. Like all the other stuff Trump did to obstruct justice was on TV. Like it was just clear out. There are news reports about it every single day. We've had news cycles about it for the past 3 years, and it seems that it's difficult to get them even on the easy stuff. Like it's maddening. It's maddening and demoralizing is really why I'm at.
It is maddening and demoralizing. I will say, when you say it's a safe vote, Francesca, I assume that you're talking about the fact that Romney is not facing a tough re-election race this year. He just got elected as senator in Utah in 2018, so he's safe. Senators don't have to face re-election for 6 years. So he could have easily voted to convict Donald Trump on both articles of impeachment. But look, I have such low standards for Republican lawmakers that I applaud him for having somewhat of a spine. And one of our viewers, Rob Brown, wrote in using the hashtag TYT Live and said, breaking news, x-rays of Republican Senator Mitt Romney shows traces of a spine. Because there's nothing but spineless Republicans who clearly hated Trump during the election, said terrible things about Trump, terrible and also correct, And then as soon as he came into power, they folded and they concede to everything that Donald Trump wants.
Right. I mean, the election that I was referring to, or the vote that I was talking about, was more that in the Senate, you didn't see Murkowski or Collins waffling or on the fence, and so he could get very comfortably say he wasn't going to be the vote to put to remove Trump, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But yeah, I think it's really fascinating that before Trump, right? Who were the candidates that the Republican Party ran? And they were Mitt Romney and John McCain, arguably like a far cry from where the Republican Party, and I would say where the Democratic Party has allowed the Republican Party to go at this point, right? And you're like, oh, there's a little bit of a moral center there, there's like, McCain, is no longer alive, but like he would shout down anyone who said in the audience like, oh, well, Obama is a Muslim socialist who wants to whatever, like wasn't born in this country, and he was like, no, like it's really indicative of a party that is evolving more and more towards its fascist tendencies and moving away from, let's be real, like I do think that Romney being a Mormon has everything to do with this, and I think him saying that he, is trying to do the moral and the correct thing. Mormons are generally really nice people. I don't agree with them, but listen, I hope there's a heaven for Romney's sake.
Yeah, I have a different angle. I would love to believe the moral tightening of Romney and that he's really strong and that maybe he has a spine, but I know Mitt Romney doesn't have a spine because Mitt Romney having a spine is inconsistent with everything else I know about Mitt Romney. I remember his campaign in 2012. He didn't have a spine for anyone else but Bain Capital, the people he worked with, the people he wanted to enrich. He's an opportunist just like most of the ones there. And so but
I don't know, but what's the opportunity here? Because the Republican Party will no doubt be vicious toward Romney.
He's everyone's doing game theory at this point. And Romney thinks that his game theory is for whatever thing he's spinning into his future, that taking a stand in this moment, even though he hasn't taken many other stands elsewhere, is one thing he can point to and say, hey, look, when everyone else is against me, I stood up against Donald Trump. It's completely meaningless. He's gonna do horrible things in the future that's gonna make this not go, but this is gonna work well in his career for whatever narrative he wants to spin. I just don't see Mitt Romney or really any of these people for being any more than self-serving, because I've just been paying attention to them too long. And this impeachment process shows that it's just self-serving to them for me.
So Dan Evans playing the role of Anna Kasparian on the panel today. I'm definitely less salty toward Romney on this particular story than you are, but I do think you make a point. I mean, if you take Romney as a whole, what he represents ain't that great, right? But I think that it does, to be fair, in this political climate, especially considering how Republicans will help Donald Trump cover up anything because they're so afraid of their own personal careers, right? I do think that there is some level of courage in convicting or voting to convict Trump on at least one of the articles of impeachment. They are gonna be vicious to him, I guarantee it. But you're right, maybe this is his long game. Maybe he's looking to see this benefit his political career in the long term. I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, meanwhile, my mind is where's Paul Ryan right now? Where the F is Paul Ryan? Because he's sitting this whole thing out, so he's just ducking under the big wave so he can come back and run for president or something disgusting.
Prepping those big guns for the new photo shoot.
He's watching CNN doing some sets going, yeah, this time it's gonna be me up there causing ineffectual trouble and making government completely the complete hell zone.
Yeah, we have a lot to look forward to, but I do think that we have yet to see how voters are going to react to their senators' votes and how that's going to play out for them. I don't know. Now there is no daylight between the GOP and Trump. And what if we handily, beat him in November? What if Democrats beat him? What if Democrats take the Senate? I don't know, right? How is that going to bode for them in the future? Because we're not going to let them forget. So I mean,
if Democrats win the Senate, they might really go after these Republicans. There might really be some consequences finally for bad things that Republicans have done, because that's Democrats are really effective in that.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.